Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. I am so excited to be joining DynamicsCon for the session that we're talking about today. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you so much to the organizers. I can't believe how excited I am to have a new opportunity with a community that's doing things differently. I'm Kerry Peters, and you can see here, I've got to use my superpowers today for this session. I am with New View Strategies. I am the owner as well as a trainer and consultant. I have been involved in the NAV and Business Central community for many, many years. I'm very pleased to say that I'm a Microsoft MVP as well as a Microsoft certified trainer. And I'm so glad to have some time to spend with you today. Specifically, I'm going to get to spend 40 minutes with you today so that we can talk about tips for Business Central. Every single one of these are live Business Central demos. So I'm going to be getting my superhero cape on, and I'm going to be going through all of those demos real time so that you can see exactly how they're done. There's going to be a handout that you guys can download so you can follow along and see exactly what these tips are, as well as to use to reference, because every single one of these tips are available as 1 to 3 minute videos out on our YouTube channel. So we have a playlist out there for Business Central, which actually has 50 tips. So 15 more than what you're getting today. And we also have 50 tips related to NAV. So we're very excited to be able to share this information with you both now and at a later time. So we're going to get started. And in order to really get going here on my phone, I'm setting my timer, which time we have here. So I'm going to get my timer going, and we are going to switch over to Business Central and get started with our 35 tips in 40 minutes. Let's go. So here we are in Business Central, and the way that I'm going to talk about these tips are in small groups to help you stay organized on exactly what we're talking about. We're going to talk about finding things first. The Business Central interface is incredibly intuitive, but a lot of times we don't really know where things are, especially if we've come from other versions of the software. So the big help that you're going to use is the Tell Me, which is in the upper right-hand corner. This is our magnifying glass. And Tell Me is super, super smart. It can do all sorts of things. You don't have to know the exact name for what you're doing. You can even search for partial things. So I know that I'm looking for posted invoices of some kind. I've just typed in post INV, and I've got a whole lot of information here. Tell Me guides me to exactly where I need to go in the system, including things that are actually on the page that I'm on. If I want to see additional pages, including more than the 3 that are listed, and I can also see any related reports and documentation. So rely on Tell Me to get you information if you don't know exactly what's going on there. Now, if I wanted to look for something a little bit different way, maybe I wanted to see transactions that have actually committed to my system instead of information like this, I'm going to use a different tool, and the tool that I'm going to use is Navigate. So let's choose our posted sales invoices from our Tell Me list. And on this particular list, I've got a lot going on, and I've got a gotcha that I want to show you right now. We have Navigate in 3 different places on this menu. We have Navigate here, which is on our primary action bar. We have Navigate here, which is on our secondary action bar. And under Actions, we also have Navigate. So we have it in 3 places. They all have their different purposes, but the one that I'm focusing on today is the one right here in the middle, which is Navigate. And when I choose this on any particular document, this is going to tell me how I get to the originating document that's related to this. It's going to show me all of my general ledger entries that are also been posted because of this document, and all of my subledger entries are right here as well. The additional thing that you get with Navigate is you always have the ability to drill down. Watch out for these teal colored numbers that have an underline underneath them. If I click on this, this is going to take me directly into my general ledger and give me a whole lot of additional information. So I really love Tell Me, I really love Navigate, and I love to be able to drill down into the numbers that I get to from those different places. One other thing I want to show you related to finding things is a special ability when we look at something like a customer card and we go into a record from our list. So if I choose one of those records and that opens it up, this is always going to open up so that this is in edit view. So right now, because all of my fields are white, I can see that I could edit any of these. And I don't necessarily want to do that. If I'm the person who's allowed to change information in the system, sometimes I just want to go and look, and I don't want to accidentally do something like delete this particular address. So to keep myself from being able to do that, I'm going to choose the little pencil at the upper part of the screen here that is going to allow me to put this into edit mode. So if I choose the pencil, you can see that all of the fields now turn gray, and I'm not able to delete that particular information. I'm just here to look. So let's move on to the next thing that I want to talk to you about. Our next category really is about how you can manage your screens differently. If I'm looking at any of these particular screens, and let's pick on that customer list again. I know that I've got a lot of information that is on this screen. And if I look at the very bottom of my screen here, I can see there's a scroll bar, and I'm having to scroll way off to the right. There's some stuff that's hidden behind my fact box. So anything that you can do to organize your screen in a different way and eliminate left to right scrolling in particular is going to make you more efficient. So you notice when I scrolled from left to the right, only my number stayed there and my name was hidden. So let's go fix that and a few other things while we're there. If I choose personalize and have this ability showing here, I can, number one, change my freeze pane to a different spot. So I'm going to set that freeze pane right next to the name. I'm also going to get rid of stuff that I don't need. So anything where I don't have any information, where maybe it's not useful information to me, it's not anything different, one record from another, they're all the same. All of that stuff I'm going to get rid of because I want to be able to get rid of that scroll bar at the bottom part of the screen. And you'll see right now it disappeared. So I fit everything that I want on my screen to eliminate left to right scrolling. And once I hit done, I can see everything that I need right here on this page without the need to scroll left to right. The other thing that you could do on this page is you can always choose to hide this fact box. This fact box pane is right here. And if I hit this little toggle, this is going to go away and give me even more screen real estate than what I had previously. Now I want to show you a cool trick. One thing that I hear people complain about when they're talking about managing their screens is they don't have the ability to have more than one screen. And in particular, when we're doing transactional work, like doing sales orders, we might want to have more than one screen. So let's open up a sales order and take a look at what we could do there. We have the ability to be able to choose this little option at the upper right-hand corner here, which is open this page in a new window. So I could choose to do that. And if I arrange my screen, and I can simply use the Windows key and the right arrow to snap that to the right-hand side, and then I can use the Windows key and the left arrow to snap that screen into the left-hand side, then I'm able to arrange those things to each other. Oops. So that I can see both screens at the same time. The other way that you could do that, and this is a little bit of a bonus way to do that, is all this stuff is in a browser, right? So I could choose to replicate another session into that browser. So if I choose to just copy this and paste this into my other tab here and separate the two of them, that's another way that I can use my Windows arrow and Windows left arrow so that I could have those two things on two different screens. So now I can see my role center and I could see my sales orders. I could see my sales order list and my sales order entry screen, any two screens that I want. And actually you can do this for as many screens as you want. So you sure can do quite a bit of work there with being able to have multiple screens, and your licenses are certainly going to support that because your license follows your login. So you can be opening this on multiple computers on your phone all at the same time. Here's the last little piece about managing your screens that I really want you to know about, and this is focus mode. When we look at things like sales orders, we have a few lines, and honestly, in our real work, we're going to have more than one line to fill out most of the time, right? So if I want to see this information, I'm going to watch for this guy here. This is focus mode. When I enter focus mode for this sales order, this gives me a whole new screen so that I could use this to fill out all of the lines that I have available. So focus mode is absolutely one of my favorite things, especially for folks who are doing transactional work and need to just be heads down into a single screen to get your job done. All right, our next category is going to be how to find things faster. If we want to work with a lot of information where we have quite a bit of information and we need to do some sorting, let's pick on our posted invoices. I'm going to use my Tell Me to find that. So if I'm looking for my posted invoices, I'll open up this particular list and I can sort things very simply. I've got a lot of information here. I could choose to, if I want to, sort this so that this is alphabetical. I could sort this so that this is by remaining amount. So I could see who owes money. And actually, I need to go the other way if I want to see who owes money at this point. I could find a lot of information by doing some simple sorts. But I can also do some find in here as well. And watch what happens if I do this. If I use Control F and I search for something, so I'll search for one of the names, this is actually highlighting these different things. Now, this isn't Business Central. This is Chrome. I'm actually using a Chrome capability inside of Business Central to be able to find information. But I wouldn't have to do that. I could close this. So let's close that and take a look at the search function. And if I do the same thing, this acts like a mini filter. So inside the application, I have to use the search to be able to use that as a mini filter, but I can also use Control F if I'm just looking for that next record, but be aware that it's Chrome that's doing the work and not Business Central. Here's the other thing that I could do. If I'm looking for things inside of a field, I don't necessarily have to be in that field. I could be clicked over here on the remaining amount. Maybe I've been looking at some information related to who owes what, and I want to find some new information. So I want to change tasks. I don't have to be in that customer name field to find it. I can find things across fields, across this whole screen, and I don't have to be fussy about exactly where I'm at. Here's my last tip for you about finding things faster. This is special, and this is just for accountants. I want you to know about how you can find dimensions that are posted to your transactions in your system. This is often something that people get a little frustrated with because you can see those two global dimensions you have all day long, but sometimes the shortcut dimensions are a little bit hard to get to, and this is exactly how you solve that. So if I go into my chart of accounts, I'm going to choose an account that would be likely to have some transactions here. So let's look at a revenue account perhaps. So if I drill into that account and I look at the transactions that are available there, I can see that for this list of transactions, my department code and customer group code, if I had some things recorded, would be showing here. I would be able to see those easily. But what if I have more dimensions than that? So hopefully if you've met me before, you'll know that I love dimensions and I absolutely want you to have more than 2 dimensions to do your financial reporting. But take a look at this. If you're going to look for those additional dimensions, you're going to go to Actions. Oh, and sorry, I chose the wrong thing. We want Navigate, Entry, and we want the GL Dimension Overview. The GL Dimension Overview is the magic trick to this. If we click on this, remember to do one more thing. Hit this silly Show Matrix button to get past this. Go to the next screen, and you're going to see all your transactions, not only with department and customer group, which were our original ones, but also area and product type, which are my special shortcut dimensions. So if I had these things recorded in this particular company, you would see the detail on all of that information there, and you could put this right into Excel and start analyzing that data. So lots of great ways to be able to find things faster. Let's go back to our role center and switch tracks and talk a little bit about filtering. There's a lot that we can do with filtering, and there's a lot of great tricks for what you can do related to filters in Business Central. And what's the benefit of this? Filtering is such a simple thing, right? What's the big deal? The big deal is if you use aggressive filtering in this system, you're going to be able to deal with the massive onslaught of data that's available all the time. So knowing these filtering tips is going to allow you to move through things very quickly and to get answers that other people can't because they're too busy going through lots and lots of data. So if I take a look at this particular list, this is just a list of my vendors. It's a small list. If I right click on the header here, I could choose to filter to the value that I'm sitting on, and I could say filter to this value, and I get a very quick filter. You see it fills out to the left there of exactly what it is that I'm setting on. I can do that at any spot. So as long as my mouse is there and I right click on the header and say filter to this value, I am setting that filter. That one's really super useful, you guys, because a lot of times when we are filtering, the reason that we're doing that is we're looking at that piece of data. It's right there in our view. And we say, oh, I do want to filter. I want to see other things that are related to that. So filter to this value follows your natural process of finding data inside the system. Here's another cool filter. This one, I am going to set my mouse right there on number, and I'm going to say percent my vendors. Percent my vendors. And once I hit enter, this is going to, oh, and I missed a key, so let me do that one more time. Number and percent my vendors. So you can see that this put in a filter for only 2 items. Now, why did it do it? I'm going to move off of this field so you can see what it put in there. This filtered this for 10,000 and 30,000. So why? Why did it do that? The reason that that did this is called a token filter. And this is going back, and notice I've got 2 vendors in there right now. I'm going to go back to my role center, and I'm going to look at a special table here called My Vendors. That token filter is picking up the vendors that I have sitting in this table. So if I would choose to manage this list and put another vendor in there, so I'll add another vendor to my list, and you can see now I have 3 in there. If I go back to my vendor list, once my screen refreshes, and I might have to refresh that screen a little bit to get it to pull up the next result, it's going to be a dynamic filter that picks up all of my stuff. I have seen this be just a little bit sticky, so where it seems to take just a little bit to refresh. So I'll show you one more trick. I'm going to save that, and now it refreshed and it picked up my 3rd vendor. So that dynamic list is going to move along with what you have on your role center. Pretty cool. Another special filter that I want to show you guys is on the chart of accounts. So I want to show you, if you're looking at the chart of accounts, sometimes it can seem a little funny that we have net change, balance at date and balance, and the numbers are all the same. That seems silly. Why are we doing that? Well, the reason that looks like that is that there's no filter on that to reflect a period of time. Right now, the filter is all of time. So you're getting all of the data. So this is one of our aggressive filtering techniques that are very important. You're going to choose filter totals by, and I'm going to choose the date. And because my system thinks that it's April of 2020, I'm going to put the end of March. And when I hit enter on that, this is going to give me now different numbers. So I've got 3,000, 71,000, 76,000. So why is this magic? Why is this accounting magic? The reason that it's accounting magic is because the net change is now showing me what's the net change for March. The balance at date is showing me what is the balance of that account at 3/31. And the balance is showing me what is the balance as of today. Okay, way more informative to be able to find that information. I want to show you 3 more filters that I often don't see people using that I think are incredibly useful. So if I look at my vendor list here, and actually I'm going to change to my item list. That's where I want to be. Let's look at my item list. I have some things that I might want to do in my item list, and this is going to apply with any list in the system. This is going to, the first one I'll show you is going to find blanks. So if you look way over to the right here, I have some blanks in this data. And this is a level of checking that we should be doing sometimes just to see when are things missing. So if I say filter list by, and I'm going to choose my field, vendor number. And in that field, I'm going to put in 2 single quotes. Okay, it's very important. That is not a double quote. It is 2 single quotes. That's how we filter for blanks. And now I can have all of my items that have a blank in vendor number. So I might want to pay attention to that. So nice ability to be able to look for blank data, and you can apply that to anything there. Another thing that I might want to find is, how can I find partial values? What if I want to look at all of the items in this list that are chairs? So if I look at the description and I say, excuse me, let's look at anything that's not a chair. So I'm going to use not. So that's less than, greater than. That's what's going to tell me find anything that is not a chair. And then I'm also going to put an asterisk at the front of the word and an asterisk at the back, because that's going to find that no matter where it is in the chain of things. So now you can see that I've got desks, pedestals, lamps, conference bundles, but no chairs. Well, what if I say, okay, I actually want to find something that is not 2 values. I want to find anything that's not a chair and not a bundle. So I'm going to add on to that. I'm going to say and, so ampersand, not, And then I'll put in my word for bundle with the wildcards. All these little pieces are things that are going to make you successful at using things like this as well. So great tools to be able to help you to filter information. Here's the other thing that you can do. On this list, if I have somebody who's in a blocked status, I'm going to reset this now. I can look at things that I can't see. So, and actually I'm going to change over to my vendor list here because I know that one of these vendors is blocked. I can't see it though. So I'm going to change my filters here and let's filter this list so that I'm not looking at visible fields. I'm looking at available fields, right? My visible fields here, number through payments, that's what I can see. But look at all the fields that I have that are available. I can set a filter on every single one of these, everybody. And this is pretty darn exciting. So I can say, show me any vendor that is blocked and excuse me, that is blocked. That showed me my one person who's in a block status. And notice I can have multiple settings here. I can look at anybody who is also not blocked, or I could clear this and look at the entire list. So if I wanted to know who's blocked and I wanted to save that, I can also save this particular view to be blocked vendors. And as long as I save that, I can go back to that list anytime I want. And I can also see my primary list. So there's my all. Here's my blocked vendors that I just saved. And here's my vendors that I used with the token filter. So I've got lots of capabilities to find things with all of those different filters. So let's take a look at a new category now, keyboard shortcuts. There's a lot of keyboard shortcuts in here that are going to help you to really move through the system. But what if you don't know what the keyboard shortcuts are? What if you have no idea where to start and you're really tired of using your mouse a lot? The place that you need to go is go to the help, right? This is the little question mark in the upper right-hand side, and choose keyboard shortcuts. This is going to take you to a fantastic site called docs.microsoft.com. And this is going to give you a very long document that's going to give you all the keyboard shortcuts you like. Pay attention to something like this because this is our little graphical view of the keyboard shortcuts. Super helpful. And if you scroll down and you look at some of the information on this page, you'll get a lot of great information. I'm certainly not going to spend some time there, but what I will do is show you some of my favorites. So if I'm going to create a sales order, one thing that I want to do is I absolutely want to be able to move through this very quickly. And I want to use my keyboard more often than using my mouse. So if I'm choosing my particular customer here, I can type whatever partial part of the name I want there, and it'll populate that. So that's nice. Of course, spelling and typing matters. But if I want to change my dates, I could change this to W for my working date or T for my for today. So I also could do something like put in F for Friday. Okay, so that just said, what's Friday of this week? Oh yeah, that's tomorrow. So that's going to be the 14th. There's all kinds of date shortcuts that you can use, but T for today is one of my favorites. This is another one that I like a whole lot. And in fact, I wrote an entire blog about this a few years ago when I thought that it might possibly go away. But this one, for anybody who does a lot of transactional work, you'll use this a lot. You can use F8 to super copy. So, and when I say super copy, what I really mean is copy the field that's above that. But I like super copy because you can get going really fast. So you could replace whatever information you want and just hit F8 and then down arrow and replicate that many, many times. Now, don't forget, too, that you can do lots of stuff to be able to use keyboard shortcuts to go to Excel. So if I'm taking a look at what I have available here, and I want to be able to put this into Excel, the next thing that I'm going to show you is how you can manipulate some of this information inside of Business Central, as well as using something like Excel. So if I choose, I could, on these lines, choose Control A for all, and look what happened. That selected all of these particular items, and I could then choose to use Control C for copy. You can see that this is copied, and I can move this to the next blank line and say Control V, and this is going to paste that into that particular thing. Now, I clicked on a line that had some junky data in there, so I might have to try that again and revert my change, but I absolutely will be able to paste inside of Business Central for all the different things that I have. And I could also choose to do this in Excel so that I could copy that information over there outside of the system as well as inside of the system. So if I chose to use Control V, because this is sitting on my clipboard, look at what I have. I have all this information here. If I wanted to, I could change my quantity, and I'm going to copy just these few cells here to my clipboard so that I have what the item is and I have the quantity. Let's clear that prior error there. And just to be thorough, I'm going to delete this line that I think is causing me a little bit of a problem. And now let's go ahead and paste. And I'm going to have pasted those lines that I put in there that had the 200 in the quantities. So you can paste inside of Business Central. You can also paste to Excel and back from Excel into Business Central. So awesome keyboard shortcuts to be able to help you with that particular stuff. All right, let's take a look now at another area. And we're going to take a look at personalization. Now, you may have noticed that I had to use Tell Me a couple of times today because I didn't have my posted invoices list on my Roll Center. So I didn't have that on there and I had to use Tell Me, I want to say 2 or 3 times. I find that super annoying. And anytime you're having to search for something multiple times, I would always tell you, consider putting that on your Roll Center because you obviously need it. So here's how you do it. As long as you can find it and you can hover on it, you're going to find the bookmark. And this bookmark, this is going to turn to a solid color instead of a clear color. This is going to add this to your Roll Center. So I'm going to close this, and right behind here, now there's my posted sales invoices. So absolutely spend some time to make this your own and make sure that you put all of the things that you need on your Roll Center as you need them. And if you're having to search for them repeatedly, that's your indication that there's something that you really need to pay attention to there to be able to get to that instead of using Tell Me all the time. So if I choose then to add that link to the navigation menu, what else can I do to help me to find things? Because we've talked about Tell Me, but what we haven't talked about is a very special area here. These 3 lines, this is the Roll Explorer. So if I choose the Roll Explorer, this is suddenly going to give me all sorts of information about the particular role that I'm using. I'm using the accountant role for my session today, and the accountant role is going to show me all of the things that are available on my Roll Center. And if I wanted to, I could click any of these to get to them directly. So if I didn't know what menu this was on, I could choose any one of these to get to exactly where I needed to go. But there's actually some other stuff here that's going to help me to make sense of all this information, because this can be a lot if you have never seen all the stuff that's behind the scenes before. So look in the upper right-hand part of the screen here. Take a look at the expand and collapse buttons. If I collapse this, this is going to put this into groups for me. And I can also use a feature called Find as you Type, along with this way over here. So these are pretty subtle. So let's expand this, and I'm going to use the Find as you Type to find the general journal. So you see that as I'm typing, it is highlighting any place where general journal is in the name. So I can certainly use this for any kind of thing that I need to be able to find that. And if I can't see this here, I could use this little arrow so that it even highlights that option so I can see it more clearly. So that'll help you to sort through what you're seeing on your roll. But there's one other trick I want to show you related to this is look at Explore All. Explore All shows me every single one of the roles that are available in those areas. So if I want to be able to see this information, I can collapse by those roles. I can expand by these different things. And I can even use my search here to be able to find information in those other roles. So if you're in the process of figuring out which role you like, or you're just having trouble getting used to a role and you don't know where things are, this is a great place to be able to find that information. All All right, so we've looked a couple times now, and I showed you personalization, where this option overall allows us to make lots of changes. So if I choose personalize, I can see that I've got my magic red box here that's going to allow me to be able to make changes to anything that's highlighted here. And if I go into a list where I have things organized just a little bit differently, and I have to go out of personalization to get into that list, and then I'll go back in. So here I'm going to go into personalization and choose my fields. I always want to show what my options are. What else could I add here? But here's one thing that you can do where you don't have to use personalization. What if you want to resize your columns here? If I want for one of these columns to be bigger, I can simply just drag it over, and I don't have to use personalize to change the size of those columns. I can also double click on that just like I can inside of Excel, and it's going to auto adjust to a more appropriate width for that field. So we've got some cool little things there that are going to help us out to be able to resize those columns without having to use personalization at all. I want to show you one other way to personalize your page too that really doesn't involve personalization, but this is going to help you to remember where you are, especially if you're in a multiple company environment. So if I say company, actually, I don't have to type the whole word. I could just get to here. I'm looking for company information in particular. This screen has one little section here that's going to help you out a great deal, and it's the company badge. This is a little feature that a lot of people don't know about. And if you choose to just say custom, you can choose to set a color on this. So I'm going to choose red because that's my favorite color. And if I put my title in there, I'm going to call this my tips company because we're using this company to talk about 35 tips in 40 minutes. You can only use 4 letters. So this is real good for live, prod, or test, but not a whole lot of other things. But once I close this, I am going to have to refresh the browser so that I can see the badge show. So I'll refresh so that we can see the change that's happened there. And if you look on the upper right-hand part of your screen, once this comes up, you're going to see a red badge there that says tips. So that's going to tell me that this is this particular company. And if I have a different company, because this is by company, I can have a different color. So if you're using multiple environments, using multiple companies, this can be a great help just to visually orient yourself to where you are, in addition to your main company name that appears here. Now, I have another tip here related to how we can personalize information in the system. And I want to show you that we can add links and notes to any place in the system. I'm going to choose the customer list, but you could choose just about anything. And you've got on this details tab, links and notes, you've got attachments here too. Don't forget that you always have the ability to be able to put an attachment in here, but I really like the links and I'll show you why. So the links are intended for you to go to some other place. Could be a website, could be a SharePoint site where you've got documents stored. I'm going to show you an example of something that I want you guys to pay attention to because we've got something special here for you on our store, the New View Strategies store. And here are our shortcut cubes. Now, I tell you, we've got a special edition coming out, and it's not up on the website today, but it is a free giveaway just for you for this session. And the reason that it's free is because we're all virtual. And because we're all virtual, we want you guys to have a digital download of our foam puzzle keyboard shortcut cubes. And I'm going to show you the 2 examples here. So this is our foam puzzle shortcut cube. And this has all sorts of Business Central shortcuts on it so that you guys can reference the most used keyboard shortcuts that we see our clients using. And we now have the same edition available in a PDF. So it's a piece of paper that you can print out on some colored cardstock or plain cardstock, and it has all the same great shortcuts on it, and it's absolutely free. So we've adapted that exactly for these kind of sessions, and that'll be up on our website, on our store soon. But if I wanted to keep track of that, and I wanted to keep that link out here, I could choose links, and I could put the link address here, and I could call this new view. And on the bottom in the notes, I could even add something. So look for the origami cubes. And I could put that note there, and that note and that link would persist related to that record. So you've got some cool capabilities to do that. And it gave me a chance to tell you all about our origami cubes, which are a free digital download just for you. All right, let's take a look then at our last category of exactly what we have here about Business Central tips. We've got a couple things here that I want to make sure that you get to know about. One thing that people often wonder is what version they're on with Business Central. We don't really talk about versions as much as we do anymore, as we talk about builds, because of course we're having these builds every month now. If you go to your help and you go to help and support, you can see exactly what version this is and all of the related information to exactly which one that is for your application. So if you're looking to see if the latest and greatest has been applied to your business and you don't know yet, that's the place that you can find that. I want to show you another trick here that is actually not a Business Central trick, but it's something that comes with Windows that I think you'll find very useful. So there's an application called Windows Magnifier, and mine is over on my other screen here. So I'm going to drag it over here. You'll see that I've got mine set for when I hit Windows plus, it brings it up, and it already brought it up as magnified to 175. So I'm going to say Windows Escape to make that go away. And let's look at something that we might want to see magnified. So what if I'm showing somebody some results, and maybe I'm in a conference room and I'm trying to explain to my board or my team members this information, and inevitably somebody says, Kerry, it's really hard to see. Can you make that screen bigger? I absolutely can. I can hit Windows plus and turn on my magnifier, and then I can move my screen wherever I need to so that I can make that much bigger. And you can see there's a significant difference in exactly what we're seeing there. You can make all sorts of changes inside of this tiny little application, and it's very useful. So the Windows Magnifier is a great tool for you to be able to use to be able to see things a little bit easier, and is useful for meetings of any type where you're having to project a view of Business Central and some of those numbers and screens are just too hard to read. Here's my very last tip where you can learn more about Business Central. I want you guys to know about docs.microsoft.com. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about where the help was and where the keyboard shortcuts are. This is a publicly facing website. This is the Microsoft official definitive website that contains all of the official help related to this product. And I want to make sure you know how to get there. If you go to docs.microsoft.com and you choose Dynamics 365, if you open this up, watch for in the upper left-hand corner, Business Central. There's two resources that you should know about here. Documentation is the first one, and this is going to take you to the official documentation site that has everything that you need to know about Business Central. Take some time to look through this. This stuff is kept really, really current. Look at this. This was updated just 2 months ago. And it's great to see that this is constantly changing and keeping up with new features as they come through in the software. The other resource that you should know about related to this, though, is also Microsoft Learn. And this is going to bring you to all of the learning modules and video resources that are going to help you to learn more about Business Central. So all this stuff is available to your use for your use. It doesn't matter what your license status is, whether you're looking at this as an option for your company or whether you've already chosen it. You can always use docs.microsoft.com or Microsoft Learn to learn more about this product on your own. All right, that is the end of my presentation. It looks like I have 2 extra minutes, so fantastic. I made it, 35 tips in 40 minutes, and now it's time for a few questions. So I'm going to take a breath and take a drink and put my email address up there, because if you want to find out more about any of this stuff, you're certainly free to send me an email and ask me about that. And don't forget, too, that all of our videos are out there on YouTube as 1 to 3 minute tips. So you can share those with anybody who you would like to. You can review them in a little bit slower pace than what I showed them today, so that you can refresh your memory related to exactly what is happening with those kind of Business Central efficiency tips. Thanks everybody for attending my session. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to participate in DynamicsCon, and I'm excited to see where this community goes in the future. Please reach out if you have further questions. My email is available on the slide deck. Thanks so much for watching the session. Let's spend some time together in the conference chat. I'd love to answer your questions.